Welcome, welcome, welcome.
A notable welcome to all you music lovers.
To something that I like to call
Journey
to the stage. It's all about music.
Music.
And more.
music.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back
Your host. Your host. And our dad.
Brian.
Fraser.
If you build it, he will come.
All right, greetings one and all, and welcome to Journey to the Stage. And special thanks to our very special friend from San Antonio, visual and musical artist Chris Taylor, for letting me use his wonderful song, Arise and Shine, for my podcast theme song. You can check out Chris's work at christaylorworld.com. And if you swing by his site and tell him I sent you, he'll probably charge you double. So enter at your own risk. So this is a really big day for me. I've got within my eyeshot one of my favorite bands, two of the guys from my favorite bands, Blue Water Highway. We're going to be chatting with them here in a minute. But before we start our conversation, I want to tell you, thank you for everybody listening. You've helped this podcast reach over 130 countries, and I'm very, very grateful for everybody who's helped do that along the way. If you've been listening since the beginning, or if you're new to this podcast and haven't given a rating or review, please consider doing so. It's really, really helpful and always encouraging. So, and for every kind rating or review we get today, the members of Blue Water Highway will come and re-landscape your backyard. So, and I'll supervise. So yeah. Legal department says I have to say I'm kidding. I don't have a legal department, but of course it's a joke. But reviews and ratings are the lifeblood of indie podcasters like myself. So thanks for doing that. And you'll have my undying gratitude. Before we get started, I just booked my final guest for season 2, which will be episode 50. And we'll be chatting with legendary bassist and studio musician, the icon, the musical legend, Carol Kaye, member of the Wrecking Crew, who played on over 10,000 recording sessions. So stay tuned for that. So I have to say that I couldn't be more amped to have my guests on today. Those aren't empty words for an introduction, because I can say with all honesty that this band is one of my true favorites that I've come across in the past several years. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome to the Artist Throne today, Blue Water Highway's Zack Kibodeaux and Greg Essington. Guys, welcome. How's it going?
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much, Brian. It's going good over here.
Nice. And Zack, did I say your last name right? Kibodeaux?
I was actually admiring how much you nailed our names just now. That's what I was doing. I was like, that's perfect.
Yeah,
you did
well
it.
done.
You nailed it.
So Kibodeaux, is that like French?
Yes, Cajun French. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Nice. Huge part of my family's Southwest Louisiana. So we're scattered on the Gulf Coast, Texas and Louisiana.
And Essington sounds very English.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm Cajun.
You're not
by
Cajun.
proxy.
Yeah, by proxy.
Okay.
Because I'm the one that plays the accordion in the band.
That's
so
right.
That's how it works. But
you are the Weird Al of the band, huh?
Yeah, that's right. Essington's probably English.
Yeah, sure. Sounds very English. Sounds very noble.
We gave the one born in New Jersey the accordion.
Right,
Somehow that still makes sense.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad you guys are here today. And I discovered you guys, it was actually just about a year ago. It was June of last year, I believe. And I came across the song, Me and the Electric Man. I hit play and I was like, what in the world? These guys are amazing. And, I dug into the Paper Airplanes album and just fell in love with your sound and really then with your whole catalog. And so interestingly, I use Apple Music to stream, and like all streaming services, at the end of the year it'll tell you what your most listened to genre, whatever it was, and then at the end it said, in your most listened to album ... And I was not surprised, but it was Paper Airplanes. That was the album I listened to most last year. And
that's
cool.
I
listened to a ton of music. I spend a lot of time listening to music. So I was not surprised, like I said, but I was like, man, okay. So I really genuinely love your guys' music. So
thanks so much.
Wow.
It's great to hear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm really juiced that you guys are here. We're going to be talking about your brand new album, Year of the Dragon. We're going to be playing a couple cuts from that here in just a few minutes. But I want to kind of get to know you guys a little bit, where the band comes from. So maybe, and I know that you guys grew up you guys are like childhood friends. So kind of walk us through those early days and how you guys became a band.
So Greg and I met in high school whenever he played Piano Man for our choir. And I didn't,
Nice.
yeah. And I was like, he had the whole harmonica and the whole bit, sang, played. and I was like, oh, I gotta like learn some instruments. I got some catching up to do. That's the first time I think somebody, like one of my peers, did anything like that, and it made a giant impression. So, for a long time, I was just kind of tagging along. He let me tag along, and until we got older and became, real friends.
Nice. And Greg, you remember playing Piano Man with the
I do. Our choir teacher asked me to perform for that class. It's like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. But yeah, that's where it all began. And then we didn't start the band till after we both graduated from college, but we had performed some throughout high school, and then later in these other variety shows we were part of. But yeah, so that's where it all goes back to, choir class.
Started writing songs together and pitching them back and forth. Greg lived in New York City all throughout college, and I was down here in San Marcos, Texas, and so we were sending songs back and forth while I was convincing him to move down to Texas. It's like, I think we should start a band, like a real band, and write songs.
How did you guys get to know Catherine and Kyle? Because I think Catherine went to the same school as you.
She did. So did Kyle. We all met.
Oh, okay.
Catherine, Kyle, and I met at Texas State University in San Marcos. Catherine and I were studying opera. We had the same voice teacher. Kyle had a degree in physics. He has his doctorate in physics, but he was doing music kind of on the side. He minored in music, so we met him there. Yeah, so the rest of the guys we met all around this area that we live in now.
That's so cool that you're studying opera. I've only seen one opera. It was Don Giovanni. We actually saw it in Salzburg.
Ooh, yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, I don't really know what it was about, and I should probably look up the Cliff's Notes. I know there was a guy hiding and this and that, but there was some great talent on that stage. I just had no idea.
Yeah. That's an epic one. That's an epic one. That's one of Mozart's best for sure.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to be. It's such a beautiful city too, and it's a beautiful theater, and it was quite a trip. So tell us where the name comes from, Blue Water Highway.
So Greg and I grew up. Our hometown it's called the Brazos Port area because there's this river, Brazos River in Texas, that empties out into the Gulf of Mexico, and it's that area, it's that port, where the Brazos empties out, and it's just about 45 minutes down the coast from Galveston, or south of Houston, if you want to think of it. And there's a highway that runs from our hometown up to Galveston, and that is the Blue Water Highway. So
the only problem is it's a little false advertising most of the year because the water's not quite what you would call blue.
No, it's the Gulf of Mexico.
Except for that, there's like one week a year in January when like the river, when everything settles and you get like this beautiful, but it's January. You can't,
It also doesn't help that we're at the mouth of the muddy Brazos.
The mighty Brazos.
Well, there's that. Yeah, cloudy, mucky brown river just doesn't have the same ring to it. So
it doesn't.
Well, that's cool. So Texas, a lot of great artists and bands have come out of Texas. Have you guys found it in this period of time? Have you found it to be pretty fertile soil for bands, artists getting started? And what's that been like for you guys?
Oh, Texas, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's full of artists. I mean, it's like, I don't know, from Houston to Austin to Dallas, Fort Worth, especially San Antonio. I mean, and in between.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think we would be here at this point almost 10 years later if it hadn't been for the fact that we were in this, in Texas and in the midst of just a lot going on within arm's reach of us, musically.
Yeah.
A lot of gigs to play, a lot of festivals, a lot of, and then the means which to make albums and record.
Texas is so big, right? Big economy. So there's
huge
people out there going to see music.
We were just in Dalhart, which is about 10 hours away from us or 11 hours away from us. And last weekend, it's like, it's about as far as we can go and, in Texas and still.
Not even a big city out there, but a bunch of people came out. So, I mean, people love music here and it's a big old state. So you can cover a lot of ground.
Yeah. California's like that too. And similarly, lots of spaces to drive through to where you're getting to your destination. So that's great that you guys have, there's a lot of places to play there, I'm sure. And, you could probably put together a good circuit of shows together in a state that's big that loves music like that. So that's awesome. If you guys were to, and maybe look back at some of those artists or bands that have maybe impacted you as and helped shape you as writers, musicians, and so on? Who might you cite? Like, who are some of those people that maybe have left a big impression on you?
The answer to that question probably pretty multifaceted, because it'd probably be, as far as songwriting, lyrics, crafting a story. There's a lot of people. There's some Texas songwriters that have been, or originally Texas songwriters, like Guy Clark, Townes Van Zandt, those kind of artists. But also, others that we've been influenced, not just their songwriting, but how they produce their records. I think we initially bonded over Ryan Adams in a really big way. We're huge Ryan Adams fans and all of his records. Beyond that, your Bruce Springsteens and Bob Dylan, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Yeah.
What else, Greg? Some current bands like the Killers and Dawes.
Dawes, yeah.
Yeah, so we're kind of all over the place in our influences, but I think a lot of those artists would have a similar influences too. So in that way, it all makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting too that I didn't sing opera in school, but
it's not too late.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm thinking, thinking about my alternate career here. No, I definitely think that's a huge influence on Zack and Catherine as well, having their background. But, myself, even I grew up playing classical piano. So there's definitely that kind of influence in our music, kind of in a lot of our arrangements and things. Those things definitely have a big part to play as well.
That's true.
Well, and it must be really helpful that both of you guys are multi-instrumentalists. I mean, you guys, and so I think that just helps, obviously, that on the arrangement side of things and coming from these different backgrounds, but with similar foundational artists and influences. I think that it's got to be just a huge benefit to you guys, creating your own sound, creating your songs, writing, arranging, all those types of things.
It is. I mean, we don't, unless we actively go out and want somebody else to play, which has happened a few times, there's really not anything we can't do in-house. And it's easier in a lot of ways because we already have our own kind of shorthand. We have our inside language, and we just refer to all the records that we've been listening to, in the van or growing up, or in the van across the country. And we're just like, we know, it's like, do this thing. And immediately it's like, yeah, right. So
when you guys are in the van, who controls the music? When we're going places, whoever's driving gets to select the music.
That's how we do it, 100%. I mean,
that's the only perk you get.
Yeah, right.
You got to drive. You might as well get to pick your music.
That's right.
Yeah. What about on the countryside? Obviously, there are, certainly you guys aren't a country band, but there are, some country elements in some of your songs. Do you have any influences maybe from that genre that have been impactful for you?
I mean, it's like I mentioned Guy and Townes Van Zandt, and they're not, they're really more like Texas folk artists. So I wouldn't put those in strictly country. But I mean, country music was huge in all its iterations up until we were, like our formative years. So just like we love old country, classic country music, but I mean, I can't pretend that we didn't hear on the radio growing up, especially like 90s. Yeah. I don't know how much that slipped in there, but we heard it so much.
Oh yeah, we really did. Growing up in Brazoria County, Texas, I mean, there was a huge country music influence. We had, the county fair and
well,
and just that's what like our peers were, at least a lot of my friends were listening to.
Yeah.
Growing up.
Well, and we always bring up like accordion too, and it's not like. It's an element of our sound that we use. It's not like the totality of it, or anything, but it's part of kind of the carnival that we bring. And, it's a huge Texas thing, really, if you think about it. You have Mexico and, the Tejano influence. You got Cajuns right there. And then you got all the Germans that moved in Texas. And so that's a huge thing too.
It's a lot of flavors to mix together. Mm-hmm. That's really cool. So your new album, this is your fourth album, or your third of all original material, because you did the acoustic version or the stripped down version of your second album. So 2015, Things We Carry, 2018, Heartbreak City, and then the stripped down version we just, as I mentioned, of Heartbreak City, Paper Airplanes, 2021. I love every single one of those albums, and it seems like each one kind of tops the previous one. But clearly, by how much I listened to Paper Airplanes last year, I love that album greatly. And so I think when I first reached out to you guys, it was before the first of the year. I think Greg shot me something, or I don't remember who it was, but say, hey, we're going to be recording, so let's connect next year or whatever. And my first thought was, man, that album's going to be hard to top. And after, I've had my ears on it now for quite a while. I mean, ever since it got released to supporters, and mission accomplished. I mean, it is it's such an exceptional album. You guys nailed it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It means a lot, especially since this is the first one we produced ourselves, and so
Yeah.
it means a lot.
Was that a little scary for you, kind of like taking the training wheels off the bike a little bit? And what was that like for you? I mean, you guys, you're not green. You've spent a lot of time in the recording studio, and that could go either very well or it could maybe not so much. And clearly it did. But what was that like for you, kind of going into this, knowing that you guys wanted to produce on your own?
We had done some test runs with some singles that we'd released, and it was partly out of necessity and partly out of like, okay, like what's in the budget, especially after these lean years that we've had. Anybody that's been a musician, so it's like budget wise, it's like, okay, what can we do that makes sense? So I think in our know-how about arranging, about what sounds we like, about what our band is, it's really fun now that we're able to kind of like be self-referential with our records. Like instead of, that's a cool feeling. We've made enough now that we're like, make it sound like this song of ours, and we know how we got that. So I think in kind of a production front and also an engineering front, because we did all that too. So, that's speaking to Greg and Kyle in a big way. They had the confidence to be, to be like, yeah, we know where to put the mics. We know how to operate, everything. And so it was a risk for sure. I don't know. Over the years, as excited as I've been about working with producers, and we've worked with some great producers like David Butler and this band called Missio. We worked with Machine. He actually did a bunch of, he's famous in the metal world, like doing Lamb of God records. He did Heartbreak City. Case and Cooley out of Nashville, who did, he's done a ton of artists like Drew Holcomb, Sandra McCracken,
Ingrid Michaelson,
Ben
Sandra,
Rector. Sandra's got a great voice. Wow.
Yeah. And Matthew Perryman Jones. And so he was great. That's Paper Airplanes. And we loved the sounds he got. So that was the objective. But, over the years, it's been kind of like, there's been something about some of the tunes, some of the singles we've released and things we've done ourselves that I know personally I wanted to explore. Like, this is what happens when we just kind of do things in-house. That's just what we were feeling at the time. So it was all those things combined.
I want people to hear why I dig your sound so much. So we're going to play a song. We're going to play the title track here. Give us a little bit of background about it and where the name comes from. What's the story you wanted to tell with this song in particular?
This track being the title track of the album, the whole theme of the album is what happens when the dragon comes to town. Like if you think of that in, I guess we would say a metaphorical sense, right? But like what happens, what are all the things?
Chaos.
Chaos, evil, the unknown, fear, everything. And so really the whole album is kind of a bunch of vignettes. It's a lot of story songs, about the result of that, how people deal with it, heroic ways or tragic way, all that combined. So Year of the Dragon title track is kind of our ode to kind of the original rock and roll Rebel Without a Cause culture. If you think like James Dean and all, like it's like fast cars and rebellious, teenage angst and tragedy and all that rolled up into one. That's the summary, I think, of that story.
Let's give this a listen. This is Year of the Dragon, the title track from the album of the same name by Blue Water Highway.
I remember the sound of your mama's voice. Said there ain't no spell hotter than a young desire. So we fell hard, never had a choice. Went up like a house fire. The king of the lost boys, playing soldier with the queen of hearts laid on his shoulder. I'd slam the screen door, hop in the war wagon, grab the keys to your heart, and turn the engine on. didn't have a choice. You said I should have read the warning signs. It all happened so fast, babe. The boy was bleeding. I saw the gun in your hand, babe, and you were screaming. I slammed the screen door, hop in the war wagon, grab the keys to your heart, and turn the engine on. Oh, baby, I'm your one-night stand in the year of the dragon. And now I wake up asking to leave the porch light on. Honey, it's so good to hear your voice. Am I coming through the phone alright? You know I took the fall, I made a choice. Get a look at the world in black and white. It's a kingdom of hard luck, east of Eden, but I'm holding you now, love. When I'm dreaming, I slam the screen door and hop in the war wagon, grab the keys to your heart and turn the engine on. Oh, baby, I'm your one-night stand in the year of the dragon. And all I'm asking is leave the porch light on.
This is really a great song. It's so incredibly catchy. This is one I've had on I'll put on repeat and just listen to it because it just has such a nice feel to it. I love the tempo of it and everything. So you guys have obviously, you've been together for a while. You've written a lot of songs, and clearly you have the writing and arranging of things down. You've got it down. Walk us through that process of, bringing a song to the band, the arrangement process, kind of getting the feel that you want. Like, walk us through that a little bit.
For this song and most of the songs on this album, Zack had made little iPhone demos for us, and so
The extent of my capabilities.
yeah, I mean,
So you won't be engineering the next album, right?
No.
there's some gems on those demos, some of which actually made it in the final track.
Oh, cool. Nice.
We would start with that, and I think that's one of the biggest things we've learned in this process is start with that demo, start with that raw material, and because there's kind of some magic there that you want to capture when you go to put the song down. That was kind of how we started, was with those demos and kind of building it from there. And because we were engineering and playing and producing all ourselves, we had to kind of build it from the ground up. That was when we kind of built it off of that demo and programmed some drums. And yeah, Kyle did a lot of that on that track.
We're also learning how to boil things down, or at least we're intrigued by boiling things down to essentials, I think, lately. So on that track, it was like, okay, we've got the story, got to be able to hear the words, got to be able, that's important. The singing's always really important to us. But then also this, getting that snare sound, it boiled down to drums, vocals, and a guitar that evoked something like, early rock and roll or Cars, Muscle Cars or something like that. So that was definitely a huge part, finding that tone, and Greg's tone master.
And Zach's a huge Dire Straits fan, so.
Oh, yeah. Mark Knopfler's one of my favorite players.
Yeah,
I had
and
to-
writers, by the way. Like he's an
Yeah, oh, yeah,
incredible
he's right.
songwriter. So
Mhm.
Yeah, we forgot to mention Dire Straits.
yeah,
and,
but
and
that's huge.
influences.
Yeah,
But I would say
there's
that
too many.
there's too many. Yeah.
Right. As a listener of music, to me, in my opinion, it really starts with melody. Melody is the foundation. So I'm curious for Zach, these little recordings that you do you hear these melodies apart from an instrument and then take them to an instrument? Or do you find that as you're playing just on your own, noodling around, strumming, or playing at the piano, that they come to you? Like, kind of what's that like? Or is it a combination of those things?
I mean, I would say it's a combination. Oftentimes, people always ask, is the music or the lyrics come first? And we definitely had a concept. I had a concept. Okay, this is going to be the idea for this album. So all the songs are going to fit into this world. But knowing that, music then definitely influenced what world was going to open up and what story was going to come. So,
Right.
I think this particular song started with a chord progression on the piano. And then it was like, all right, that's the melody, kind of the chorus melody. And that influenced what words were going to come, vowel sounds, all that stuff. And that helps give structure. That helps give parameters, what lyrics you're going to use, how you're going to sing certain things. But I completely agree with you about the melody. I mean, it's super important. We specifically mentioned, or we specifically had in mind that our last record, Paper Airplanes, was going to be like like we're going to lean into these melodies, because that is one thing the
Absolutely,
classical
yeah.
influence
Mm-hmm.
gives us a
Yep.
lot, just melodies all over the
Mhm.
place. I mean, so many of the best melodies that have been created, if you hammer that into your brain long enough, you're like, that's going to make an impact. So
Mm-hmm.
When you are writing, do you find that your writing is different if you're writing on a piano than it is on a guitar? Do you feel maybe on a piano you have more freedom, or maybe feel more constricted on a guitar? Like what's that? What is that for you? Does that make sense?
yeah, absolutely, it is different. The things you're going to come up with on guitar or piano, I can't say which one I'm better at. I'm kind of a rudimentary piano and guitar player, rhythmic way. I'm not a soloist on either one. I just kind of know your rudimentary pop, rock and roll. I have those skills. I don't have the classical training Greg does, really, or even Kyle for that matter. The things will be different. Piano's laid out in such a way that it's really easy to see the theory. It's really easy to pick out melodies. So I think maybe I wouldn't say better, but maybe more interesting melodies have come when I've been writing something on the piano. And
Yeah,
then
I can see.
and then maybe more interesting rhythms potentially in some ways have come from guitar,
Yeah.
Mhm.
if I had to boil it down.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you guys saw that Beatles special when they're in the studio getting ready to record the TV show, and they're waiting for John, and Paul's just strumming on his guitar, and he starts and which turned into Get Back. I mean,
Yeah.
so I cool see where
That's
what
so
a cool
cool.
moment to see that live. What in
I
the
loved
world?
it.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
that was amazing.
For me, when all of the elements of good song crafting come together, melody, great vocals, instrumentation, harmony, arrangement, when all of those things come together at a level of excellence, like you have found something really special. That's really how I would describe you guys. And that's why I'm so drawn to your guys' music, particularly like the harmony you guys create. I'm like, my goodness, it's so rich. Some of that 3-part and sometimes 4-part harmony that you guys do. Do you ever you start singing and look at each other and like, wow, okay, this is actually pretty darn good? Do you ever have those moments together? Or if you've been doing it long enough, you're just like kind of accept it for what it is?
I think it's hard to have those moments because we're so in it, and and it's like, it's just, this is what we do.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I re-listen to some of our recordings and even like live videos and things,
Mhm.
that's when I'm like, oh wow, that's when it really hits me. Like, yeah, this came together really well, or that's really
Yeah.
special. But in the moment, I don't know. It's hard. I don't know. What about you, Zach?
It's almost like it's a brother-sister harmony at this point. It's just like we just do it all the time. But every now and then, I will
Yeah.
say, and maybe this is a segue into another song on the new record, but every now and then when we listen back, we created the choir for Newborn Child. And we have that isolated, actually.
Yeah.
And we liked it so
We did.
much that it was hard to even put it in the song. I almost wanted to release it on its own.
Yeah.
Because, that harmony comes from, I mean, we all grew up, I think, singing harmony
Yeah.
in different ways with our parents or with our, our friends
Choir.
and choirs, especially, So it was really fun. We've done this before, but we did it on this record where we would kind of go in, play different characters. So to try to make it sound more like a choir. So because it was all in-house. We didn't hire anybody. We stood in different places and sang as if we were different ages, different types of voices, all that, just to make it sound
awesome.
like So because sometimes if you sound too much, and that can be a cool sound too. If you sound too much like yourself,
Right.
overdubbed, it's a really clean, sleek
the pop thing,
which is awesome.
Is a thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But if you want it to sound more almost rootsy or gospely, and have a lot of that soul in a different way, then sometimes you gotta make it a little rough around the edges, and like some guys gotta, just different timbres all over the place.
Well, that's what Mutt Lang would do. That's one of the ways he created those choirs that he created were exceptional because he, you know what I mean? He was doing that same thing that you guys were talking about.
Yeah.
And I do definitely hear some real gospel influence. There was some song you guys, I don't remember which song it was because I watched so many videos last night just in albums and stuff as I was prepping. Man, I was like, wow, this is so gospel-y. I can't remember which song I was listening to. I found it on YouTube. And I was like, man, this is really, really cool. And so what's neat is I've shared songs, I'll send links to people I know that I know love good music. And I have never sent a song of yours to somebody who didn't come back and say, wow, these guys are amazing. So it's pretty cool. In fact, I don't know if you guys, what kind of music you listened to when you were younger, but Soul Asylum, I had Dan Murphy on, he's part of
Nice.
Golden Smog too. Really cool band. And he was sharing with me, because he's got a new album out, and how much he loves singing harmony and hearing harmony. And I'm like, there's this band from Texas you need to check out. And this was live. And so it's on his podcast episode.
All right. Thank you.
And then, which is pretty cool. And then after I sent him Me and the Electric Man, he totally loved it. So anyway, with so many, friends I have that are professional artists, like you guys face a lot of headwinds today. And one of the things I know that you've done is you guys have given away CDs online. In fact, I remember really early on, not that I needed to do this, but I defended you guys online because this guy's like, why are you giving your music away? You're cheapening it for everybody. I'm like, dude, I said, you don't even know how hard it is for an artist, a band to get somebody's attention for just a few minutes to hear one song. And if they could do that by giving a CD away and they make a fan for life, mission accomplished. Because I mean, truthfully, with streaming, you're practically giving it away anyways, right?
That's right.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, it wasn't my place. I was so out of my lane. I'm like, I'm not speaking for the band here, but here's the struggle. And I know that those are some of the headwinds you guys face, just kind of getting in front of people, grabbing their attention. What are some of the other challenges that you guys have come across so far in your journey?
Oh my gosh.
There's so many.
Where do we begin?
I mean, bad managerial relationships, flat tires in Montana at 3 a.m.
Acts of nature, accidents, bad business dealings. I mean, they're the classic artist complaints, sometimes with people. The music industry, we talk about this a lot. It's really hard because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. I think it is filled with a lot of people who genuinely love music. But if they make that their career, and I'm talking about music industry, not the people making the music, but the people that are kind of, I don't know, managers or label people or publicists or whatever. Unfortunately, a lot of it does seem like, and I don't even know if it's intentional, I don't necessarily think it is, but it does feel often like they all have careers on the bones of bands, and that's just the way it is. And so they seem to have a career for a long time, and artists don't always. And it's
because they change horses.
Yeah, exactly. And they're, artists are just paying these people so much money to try and get attention. And we've done some of that and learned the hard way where to put those resources. But that's a huge challenge.
Yeah, and I mean, in today's world, I would say the biggest challenge is that social media being one of the main ways of music discovery, which is awesome. we find fans every day, like you were talking about on Facebook or
Yeah.
Instagram or YouTube
or what you're doing now. I mean,
Yeah,
the podcast is awesome. I mean, that's
yeah, exactly. That is wonderful. It seems like you kind of have to have gimmicks online in a way that maybe it seemed like at the beginning of like Facebook, you didn't have to. Like there was a period of time in 2010 through 15 where like you could just really blow up on Facebook, and it was just because you like had great videos and great music, and and then they kind of clamped down on it all and then made you start paying for everything. And
I always tell everybody is like the most naive thing I ever thought going into this was that it's all about the music, because that is genuinely where we all came from.
Yeah.
Like it is, that's what it's about for us.
Music business isn't always about that.
No.
No, in fact, I've heard that from so many artists and bands that if you're not careful, it can kind of jade you, and it can make a band or make an artist kind of lose heart and get a little sideways, and it's very, very easy to do. And on a much, much smaller level, I can relate. I started a podcast because I love music and I love people and I love hearing their stories. Wanted a chance to kind of put those things together. It comes at a cost. Like I don't make any money at this. My wife's like, that's kind of an expensive hobby you have there. I'm like, yeah, it kind of is. But I do it because I've made the podcast that I would want to listen to with artists and bands that I genuinely love.
Yep. Yeah, they can. And so it's funny when you mention that. It's like you're doing it your way. You're doing it for the love of the thing. And I think this particular project that we worked on, You're the Dragon, only honed in more. I mean, Paper Airplanes was huge in that way. I mean, that was kind of the beginning of a new journey for us to that point. You kind of like, it's not even worth it if we can't do it. We're going to go do something else if we can't do it, like something we believe in.
Because at the end of the day, you're the one who has to look at yourself in the mirror and live with what you've done. And
what's the
I can
point?
absolutely understand that. Right. We're going to listen to one more song. It's a song we referenced just a few minutes ago. And as we were working through which songs we were going to play, Zach, you mentioned playing the title track in either Natural Man or Newborn Child. And I responded back. I'm like, okay, those are both great songs. I feel like the fat kid in the candy store trying to pick between two really good things. But that song, Newborn Child, as I mentioned, I'm a pretty sentimental guy. I tear up pretty easily. It's why I don't wear mascara anymore. But that song gets to me for a few reasons. One, the harmony. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I feel music. If something's good, like it's like it's very internalized for me.
Yeah.
And that song, and I think part of it is the harmonies, the vocals on that, as you guys talked about, are just, to me, they're otherworldly. Like, it's just so, so good, especially if you've got a good pair of headphones on. So I'm like, oh man, well, these are both good songs, but if we could play this one, as a dad of two boys, like I would go with this one. So thanks for humoring me and going this way. Tell us a little bit about this song, and then we'll listen to it once we've heard about it.
So this is a song I had written after a trip to Nashville. The only other songwriting partner I have, really intense sit down, write a song, is ever only been Greg. After that, it's been the band. And so this is the first time last year that I had, our manager at the time had set us up some writes, which was great. I met a lot of great artists. Sean McConnell, I don't know if you've ever had him on or know of him, but he's really great. Sean McConnell, check him out. But Clint Wells, great guitar player, songwriter. But yeah, so met with a lot of people out there, but I didn't really come away with anything that we could use or that I thought I was really excited about. So I was on a plane and I was waiting. This was a period of anticipation waiting in my life, which is what the song is about. It's you could call it like an Advent. It's like a waiting song. You're waiting on something to happen. And it was the birth of my third daughter. And boom, on the plane ride home from a ride where I didn't come away with anything, that's when that song came. So.
Oh, that's awesome. One reason the song is so emotionally evocative for me is it does remind me of like a few points in my own journey as a dad. When my son Luke was born. So this song just kind of stirs all that. I'm tearing up. I can't talk about this without tearing up, but it's a special, special song. So let's listen to this. I absolutely love this song so much. This is Newborn Child from Blue Water Highway.
Oh, sister, can you feel it? All the changes come around. Oh, I know it's hard to settle down. There's a humming in the valley. There's a river full of cheese. Where it's going, I will be there at the crowning of the year. I wanna get my feet where the bells ring out. I wanna shake off the dust. I wanna sing out loud. I've been waiting a long, long while. What's that shaking? Who's that waking? Oh, ain't it the newborn child? Ain't it the newborn child? Oh, mother, can you hear me? Oh, I know I'm out of tune, like a drunkard in the choir, singing I'll be home soon. When I get on my feet, hear the bells ring out. I'm gonna shake off the dust. I'm gonna sing out loud. I've been waiting a long, long while. What's that shaking? Who's that waking? Oh, ain't it the newborn child? Ain't it the newborn child? I go walking on the narrow, but I never get too far. Now I'm falling, now I'm rising. Now I'm crawling in the dark, and I've been waiting.
Yeah, and that song, as I mentioned, that just gets to me, and that harmony is just absolutely beautiful. You guys must have had so much fun recording that. How did you capture that vocal sound? Because that is so great.
Yeah, so that was the second song we recorded together for this project, and so it's much different approach than You're the Dragon, because we just wanted to start with Zach and this janky out of tune ukulele that Kyle has, and
It only plays in one key.
It only
That's why
play-
the song is in that.
It only plays in one key. Perfect for this
Cool.
song.
Hey, you go with what you got.
Yeah, so we just started trying to capture Zach doing that, and then by the time we layered everything up and sang harmony, and like he was talking about, the choir was a big part of that.
So tell us what's next for you guys. Obviously, you've released several singles from the album. Do you guys have a date that you're looking to drop the whole album?
It'll be in September when we drop the album, and I think in the meantime we'll release singles along the way, which is something we're trying. Another new thing we're actually trying is that we actually have the physical albums made, and so if you can go on our website, there's no rules anymore. It's hard. We're just trying to figure out the best way to get music out, because, like you said, streaming you don't really make a lot of money from that, but it's also a blessing that people can get your music so easily and listen to it, and you can spread the word. So if you want it now, you can go buy it on our website. You can get the physical
CD or a vinyl.
Yeah, and or a digital download.
Oh yeah, digital download, I believe too.
But if you want to wait, then you can wait. So it's I think it's shown. I would say it's shown positive results.
Oh yeah,
so far.
definitely.
So I like this. I like this way we've tried it.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of artists, bands are really just going the singles route, and some are foregoing whole albums altogether. So this is kind of a hybrid of that, where you've
It
got
is,
this
yeah.
album, but you're releasing these singles along the way, and it gives you some traction, but also you've got things scheduled, and so it kind of keeps you in front of people
That's right.
continually. So it's
That's
great
yeah,
idea.
that's kind of the goal, is to give a song its time, make sure people get a chance to really listen to it.
And I think that's a really important thing. What Zach just said, the full album's not out yet, but people can buy it now on the website. And that's that's what I did. I think I bought a digital download. Oh, I think I was like a supporter, early supporter or something like
Yes,
that.
yeah, I think you were one of our pledge campaign supporters.
Yeah, I have my band drumsticks around here somewhere.
Yes, that's awesome.
All right. Thank you so much.
I can't play drums,
Yeah.
but I thought it would be kind of cool. Well, yeah. So obviously you've got some dates this summer already. I was just on your website. Are you looking to do some more touring in the fall? Kind of what's ahead of you guys road wise?
We are. We used to. We went through some serious years of touring all around the nation, and also we played in France and we played in the UK, and so we've been over there and played. We have a decent following in Europe, in various parts of Europe, so we'd love to get over there. Along with this album came a lot of changes in the band. Kyle and Catherine are married, and they just had their first baby. That was kind of a period of, all right, we're going to pull back from
touring as much
right now. Come the fall, we'll see how things settle with the rest. But right now, we're still playing shows. I mean, Catherine's obviously on
hiatus.
Yeah. But I've got a pretty musical family, so one of my cousins is kind of she's a great artist. Her name's Claire, but she's going to come singing with us.
Oh, cool. And let's talk about how people can support you. You guys have a Patreon page. And for those people who don't know what Patreon is, it really kind of harkens back to old Italy, where you had patrons of the arts, where people would support artists so they could create and just to be able to focus on that. So that really is where this idea comes from. As we all know, as we've talked about, it is really difficult for bands and artists, especially indie bands, to make it today in the environment and everything. So Patreon, for those that don't know, is a way that you can directly support a band. And these guys, for as little as $5 a month, it's a great way to help bands to survive. And I'll put the link to your Patreon in the show notes so people who are listening to the podcast or watching on YouTube, because I'll put a visualized version of this podcast on there. I'll put those links on there too, so people can join that. So if somebody wanted to join your Patreon page, what are they going to get from that?
So we have lots of special perks. Like, we usually make monthly videos for our patrons. You can get discounts at our merch store. You can hear more of the demos at the higher tiers. You hear more of the demos.
Or unreleased songs,
things like that.
You hear everything first, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
You guys, get the inside access. You're so right, though. It helps us out immensely to have that income come in every month, and keeps us being able to make stuff.
You're talking about that system of patronage, and it's kind of, it allows us to keep making music. So I always tell people, like, if you want to support us, if you like this music and you want it to keep happening, then that's a way to do it, because that's where we're going to put it. We're going to just keep making music with it.
I hope people will take that to heart and get online and support you guys so you can keep doing what you're doing. Before we wrap up our time here, I love meta questions, these big questions that kind of give insight into what people think about things. So if you guys had to make a Mount Rushmore of artists, songwriters, musicians, and you each got to pick two people to put up there, who would you guys pick? Zach, who would be your two? We'll go to you first on this one.
That's too hard. That's just too difficult. I mean,
I know it's a terrible question, but I love it.
We do have Bach hanging up here in our studio, as you can see. I know other people, it's not a video, but we have Bach scowling at us while we made this record, which is
nice. It's a nice feature.
Yeah, it's a little homage to our classical music appreciation.
Yeah. How about if we narrow it down to American musicians or writers, singers, and so on? If
I had to put a Mount Rushmore, at least of things, references that we're always using for our music, kind of just a well that we always go back to. Springsteen would be up there for sure. Maybe you go. I'll go. You go, and I can think about it. It's a great song.
What do you think, Greg? Got anybody you think is Mount Rushmore worthy?
Yeah. Well, Brandon Flowers would definitely be up there.
Oh yeah, we're always talking about the Killers.
Yeah, like, just unbelievable writer, singer. all of the above, front man. So yeah, he would definitely be up there. He's in the vein of Springsteen,
Yep.
too. So that kind of fits.
Mm-hmm.
They would be up there together.
Great storytellers.
Yeah, great storytellers.
I got to put Ryan Adams up there because it was so fundamental to our forming.
I think I would have to as well.
He just re-released. What's the album? It's him and the Cardinals. It's Blue. It's what album is? I can't think of the name of it.
He just posted Cold Rose. Talked about Cold Roses the other day somewhere.
Oh, that's what it is. Cold Roses. Yeah.
We did. We actually did a whole. We did a whole podcast just on that record, so that's got to be up there.
Oh, really? That is such a great one. That's I think it's probably my favorite thing that he's done.
It lasted forever because it's like a double album, so it's so many songs.
Yeah, lots of good music.
Okay, we only have one more.
One more. Okay.
That's tough.
Maybe it's somebody left field that we haven't.
I know. That's like I'm thinking of the left field one.
These are all pretty similar wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Well, there's Weird Al. You don't want to forget.
Yeah. Right. Bing Crosby.
There you go.
There's your left field.
Yeah. Exactly. Singer. Yeah. If we think about just singers, I mean, he's one of my favorite singers of all time for sure.
Yeah.
We said 4.
That'll count.
Bing.
What was?
Yeah.
Why not? Bing up there.
That's a left field choice there.
That is. People will stand.
I mean, he was one of the most. I mean, he was basically Elvis of his time. Like he was.
Yeah. Absolutely.
World famous.
Probably recorded more songs than anybody.
Yeah. More hits than almost anybody.
All right, so we're gonna end here with some rapid fire, kind of fun kind of questions, and this is I love to play stupid games with bands and artists. Sometimes at the end of a podcast, it's just a good note to end on. So the other two, Kyle and Catherine aren't here, but feel free to speak on their behalf because I'm going to ask you some questions. This game's called Who in the Band, and so I'll ask a question.
I would know how they would answer anyway.
I'll ask a question, and then you tell me who in the band is the best fit for that question. So here's the first one. You guys got your hands on your buzzers? So, and if it's you, say your own name. All right.
Okay.
So who in the band is first to fall asleep in the van after a show?
Greg.
Me. I don't know. Catherine's pretty.
During the day, you don't want her driving really ever, right?
Yeah,
no,
me or Catherine.
Yeah, she's like, man, guys, I've been driving for like 30 minutes. I'm getting pretty sleepy. Like, okay, let's just pull over then. Now, Greg turns into a pumpkin at like 11 o'clock.
That's true. No, that can be me.
Nice. I'll send you a rock star.
Yeah.
All right. So who in the band is the one asking for the most bathroom stops when you're on the road?
I'm gonna go with Catherine.
Smallest bladder award goes to Catherine.
Yeah. It doesn't help that she was just pregnant.
Yeah, I know that our last memory of her was pregnant, Catherine. Yeah.
We'll say pre-pregnancy. All right. So who in the band needs the most space in the morning before coffee?
Are we all morning people?
Needs the most.
Have we
space
said Catherine too much?
Yeah, say Catherine.
she's
Catherine's going to leave the band now. I hope you guys know.
No, she's a very sweet person, but she
seems like it. Yeah.
I need some space too. I feel like I gotta go outside in the woods for a bit.
That's true.
My coffee.
Yeah, that's true. You do.
All right, that's legit. That's legit. Yeah. All right, so who in the band is most likely to prank somebody?
We're not huge pranksters around here, though.
No, haven't done too much pranking in the band.
Although I say that, but at the same time, when we had my bachelor party, Greg was involved in the organization that faked stealing my car in front of me. So that was a pretty big prank. So maybe it's Greg.
Yeah, it's me.
I walked out of the store and my car peeled out and took off. That was the beginning of my bachelor party. That's all that you get to hear about my bachelor party. But that was the beginning.
Was it. That's how it all started.
Greg, that's another level right there, man. Nice job.
Next level.
I had some help, but I don't know if I could take full credit. But I was definitely
that was a good one.
Definitely involved.
That's pretty impressive. Okay, so here's the last one, and I've asked this question to some others because I think no other question gets to the heart of a band, its members. And honestly, I'm not a journalist, but this is top-notch journalism right here.
All right.
So if the zombie apocalypse started today, who in the band would be the first to go down?
Oh, the first to go. I thought that was going to go a different direction.
Well, there's a follow-up question, so it still might. There's still a possibility that
Okay.
it could go where you think you might.
I would have been the first to go down.
I know. I was going to say,
but
Zach
I
would've-
got my LASIK surgery because without my glasses, I was pretty useless, or without my contacts a few years ago. And I just don't know. In the zombie apocalypse, man, I don't want to hate on the glasses wearers out there, but if you break your glasses, you got to be
you're
able
in
to
trouble.
see. You're in
Toast.
trouble.
You're
man.
hosed.
Kyle
Toast.
you
has
don't know-
glasses, so we're going to go with
that's
Kyle.
true. We're going to go with Kyle.
Oh, yeah, because you don't know if you're walking up to a friend or somebody who wants to eat you. So,
You don't know.
Yeah.
So Kyle, okay. So then, who in the band will be the last one standing?
Definitely Greg. The dude is an outdoor survivalist maniac.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
He's gonna be out there wrapped in aluminum foil, making fires and fishing for his food.
That's right. I would hope that would be the
Nice.
case, but I hope I don't know. I don't want to live to be the last one. That sounds kind of sad.
Yeah, I know. I used to watch The Walking Dead, and I was like, man, I don't know how far I would make it.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I was an Eagle Scout too, and I'd be like, I don't know, and I think I might tap out. I don't know.
You didn't get your zombie badge?
Yeah.
No, they didn't. Now they have that badge. Surviving. It's funny. There's actually a car around town that's like the zombie apocalypse survival mobile, and it's got, it
That's
looks
so
official,
funny.
but
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it is pretty cool. So, well, guys, I am so grateful that you joined me, Zach and Greg. You guys have been great to chat with, and just really happy to have you guys on today. Thanks big time for joining me.
Yeah, well, we're honored to be here. It was our pleasure.
Thank you so much, Brian.
And to everyone on God's Green Earth, thank you for hanging out with me on Blue Water Highway. And if there ever was an indie band that you guys need to get behind and support, it's these guys. Buy a CD, buy some merch, support them on Patreon. You can do that for as little as $5 a month. Subscribe to their email list on their website so you can make sure that you are up to date on tour dates and whatever else is happening. And if you've enjoyed their music, share this episode with a friend or somebody who loves music in your life. So this is how we can help bands and artists today in this environment. So, and as always, you can subscribe or leave a rating on Facebook, on Instagram, or you can catch me on my YouTube channel. And all those links will be in the show description as well. So thank you guys all for listening, and keep your bags packed and join us on our next journey to the stage. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is a wrap. And we're out.
Nice.